Thank you very much for attending, for those who are here. So today we will be talking about electrification of fleets, especially of commercial fleets, and the type of products, visions, and beyond that Beyond is bringing to the table. So when we look at electrifications of vehicles in Europe and in the US, and when we look at the electrification of commercial fleets and trucks in general, we can realize that they are far behind the objectives that were initially set. So for public vehicles like buses, yes, it's moved, we are now at 50%. But when you look at people actually running businesses, so the taxis, the fleets, the delivery fleets, they haven't really moved yet. It's only a few percentage points so far. So why is that? So first for them, when we meet them, they always say the same thing. We are running businesses. We're not in a business of moving to electricity. We're in the business of making money. And whatever they're doing, whether they have a fleet of plumbers, of repair, or whatever that is, the first thing they're concerned about is the profits and how this is going to impact their businesses. So first things they take into account was the range of the vehicles. So range is an issue for them. Unless the range is good enough, they cannot take the risk of being let down, having a vehicle being, not being able to complete its roundabout in a day. That would be extremely disruptive. Then you need to send a repair shop that they cannot afford to do that. Second problems that the fleet had was the price of the vehicles. When you look at ICE vehicle and when you look at electric vehicle, you're still about 50% higher. This is not something that a fleet can afford. So they were waiting up to now to see the prices kind of aligning themselves to traditional combustion engine vehicles. And we're getting there now with Beyond. We'll talk about it in a minute, but that was the second problem that they had. Third problem, to go electric, how do they go about the electrification itself? You need to, you have a depot, you need charger, who's going to charge when, who's going to pick up the bill, how am I going to monitor that? This is all a topic that they were not, ready or not equipped to do so. So for them to make a move to an electric fleet, it's not only about the vehicle, it's also about the equipment, but it's also about the monitoring and the managing of the electrification process. And that's a big issue. And finally, for them, also looking at the profitability of the fleet, they need to look at the impact on the uptime on drivers. When you need to stop to recharge during the day, what does that mean for your drivers? How do you save time and how do you stay efficient with your fleet while being electric? So those 4 points are the points that at Beyond we've been looking at to interact with our clients. So when you think about it, 1% productivity, gain of productivity on the driver's side, it's not only about the price of the vehicle, it's also looking at the productivity, at the journeys, looking at the logistic aspect of the rides, and trying to see how electrification is going to impact that part. This has been extremely important for us, and thanks to connected fleets and thanks to the software that we're bringing, we're also able to deliver efficiency on that level. How did we learn to do that? Well, today we've been having a very, very large experience in the world. So DPDHL in Germany started to electrify its fleet and its depot about 10 years ago. And we've been lucky enough to work with them on that side, delivering both vehicles, but also equipments of different sorts. So those vehicles were produced in Germany and all electric, started 8 years ago. All the equipments that you see there, all the chargers, all the batteries, all the solar panels are connected into one single system that is then connected to the logistic systems. This system is the Beyond system, and we've had the experience of 3,000 depots of electrification. We've learned the hard way what the fleet are really needs, what they really need. So today we come with 2 sets of products. First set of products are vehicles, which are dedicated for electric fleet and meant to improve the productivity of the driver, and a set also of softwares and electrification products that gives the fleet the ability to monitor the process of electrification. How do we go about it? Well, as a young startup, we used to produce our vehicles, and we also learned the hard way that it was difficult. So today we work in partnership 100% with Chinese manufacturer to be able to bring the vehicle at the right price. The vehicle that you see there, the Pelican, is now coming at the same price as a diesel engine vehicle for the fleet. So we solved problem number 2 for the fleet, problem of the price. So finally we can come to them and say, listen, at least the range of this vehicle is going to be in the 250 kilometers. That's what you need to do your business. The price of this vehicle is going to be about 35,000 euros. You're about at par with the ICE vehicle. Problem number 2 fixed. And then problem number 3 that you had, you want to monitor, we're going to help you connect not only the vehicles, but also everything around the vehicles, the buildings, the chargers, the solar panel eventually, and the battery to help you manage the electrification process. Then, and only then, the fleet are finally ready to listen and say, okay, now we can start moving forward. Now it's about budgeting, it's about financing, but no more about technological restraints. This vehicle, we basically announced this vehicle 2 months ago now. We've presented it at the CV show in Birmingham and presented, the quality of what we're able to produce thanks to our partnership with manufacturing abroad, and we'll bring some manufacturing also inland. So you can see range at 287 cubical meters and 1.3 tons, which is, for those who know the vehicles, quite impressive. Thanks to basically the whole vehicle is conceived in aluminum, including the chassis that allows us to, have a very, very good management of payload. Also, we're bringing some extra tools to help enhance productivity. Smart dispenser at the back. This is an innovation that is interesting. It doesn't save a lot. It saves 15 seconds per delivery, but 15 seconds per delivery when you're talking to Walmart, when you're talking to Amazon, this is something that they love. So the way it works is simple. Think about the carousel inside, and each time the driver is coming next to delivery point, the carousel has moved, which makes the parcel available just there. So rather than stepping in, looking for the parcel, stepping out, you're saving the time by getting the parcel immediately. A barcode is being read automatically, and then each time, the carousel readjusts to the location where you are. This is an innovation that we're very proud of, and we're producing it now, and we're developing it rolling it out with those partners. On the electrification side, 2 main products that we have, the Beyond Connect, the Beyond Energy. Beyond Connect, producing some TCUs, some APIs, allowing us to connect the fleet and giving the fleet some monitoring tools that allows you to optimize energy and charge management. So understanding the constraint from the fleet every day. So different fleets have different constraints. So some of the fleets, they want to have 20% of their truck charged in the morning. Some of the fleets, they want to have 100% of their truck fully charged in the morning, depending on the type of business they're in. We're taking on board all of those constraints. We're looking at what the grid is able to bring, what type of equipment they have, what type of external battery they have, looking at the power load, looking at the pricing, and optimizing it through time. So sometimes we'll optimize it for cost, sometimes we'll optimize it for power delivery, depending what the fleet wants to do. And this software today is very unique. No fleet has been able so far to go to that level, and we're bringing finally the tool that they've been looking for. Fleet management was very developed up to now, but charge management is a new thing. Think about it this way. If you're a fleet and you have 3,000 vehicles, there's lots of those out there, your electricity bill is going to be $10 million a year, about, yeah? If you're doing well, you charge at 5 cents per kilowatt, and for those of you who have electric cars, you know that depending on where you charge, when you charge, the prices are vastly different. So when you're running a business, it's $10 million if you do it well. If you don't do it well, if you're not even monitoring, it's going to cost you $30, $40 million, very, very quickly. So the idea that you're going to run a business with, let's say, half of your vehicles being electric and not going to be looking after your charge in a very precise way, it's not going to work. You will put few people, 5, 10 people, just to look after that. For sure. In the same way today, when they're running very, very large fleets, 3,000 vehicles, those are, 100 million of capital employed. You have 5 to 10 people looking after that as well, in terms of TCO, how much does it cost, insuring them, and everything. The numbers are far too big not to be looked after. Electricity is going to become exactly the same thing today. It was not a problem that they had to face with. Up to now, how does it work, a fleet? It's very easy. You have some, not easy to run, but at least for the oil part, all things, you give a card to everybody and you say, when you're running out of oil, you just go to the petrol station and then you receive at the end of the month an invoice from, Total Energy or BP, whoever you're working with. Maybe you have some partnership and you ask them to try to select one petrol station compared to another one. This time, the petrol station is going to be in your premises. You're paying for it, you're managing it, you're repairing it. That's a big deal. Even if you have some contractors with some, operator for the chargers, this is still something that you're going to have to manage in the house. And that's a huge difference that we're catering to. Also, because we're producing with our partner electric trucks, we have very, very close access to second life batteries. When the batteries are coming to 50, 60% of capacities, they're not good enough for a vehicle, but they're good enough to be used on other, on other tools. We're producing what we call energy electrical storage, the EES, which we can bring to our total ecosystem. This is second life batteries being used in there. We're using them, so most of them from our vehicles, but sometimes with other people's vehicles. We're also developing some with Porsche and Moon. They want to do the same thing. What all the car makers have to deal with, second life batteries, what you're going to do when they come to the end of the cycle, and this is a very elegant way to actually recycle them. You bring them back to that overall system to have an external power source, and that allows you to increase even further your optimization. A battery like this will last probably 3, 4, 5 years on your vehicle, depending on how much you drive, but about that, you'll get an extra 10 years of the battery when you're going to put it there. So it's a very nice and gentle way to recycle the second life batteries for the OEM. Implementing it at the customer level is not easy. You need a process. It's not a process, you're not coming in and it's made immediately. It's actually taking lots of different phases from, analytics of the fleet. What do they need? Which vehicle first? We're going to move to electric. How is it going to work when you have 10% of electric vehicle, 20%, 30, 50, etc. Each time it's different challenges. So we're taking our customers through that journey. We start working with them now, and you'd be surprised that most of the clients today in the fleets in Europe, they're still in that part. They're still consulting and trying to understand what it means for them to move to electric. We're finally rolling out the planning and deployment on our side. People are starting to test the software, starting to test to understand what it means. But we're talking usually, at the first number I showed you before, about 5% of the total volume of the fleet. Electrics is just the beginning for them. Calculation that we've made, and that was from our experience with DHL. So remember, we have 25,000 vehicles there, all equipped, all connected. And so through time, we could look at what it means in terms of cost and total cost of acquisition, the TCO per kilometer. So if you're moving to electric today, looking at the price of the vehicles, which is not coming back, but still a little bit above, if you're not optimizing and not using software to optimize for your cost of electricity, you'll be probably 20, 25% above what you used to have at diesel. If you're really playing the game, try to get the right vehicle, the right equipment, doing it with planning, as we showed you before, you can actually lower and be lower than the initial TCOs that you had. And so it's interesting because very often it was, and for those of you who have electric cars, you've been told very often at the beginning, it will cost you less than an ICE car. It's not been obvious through the usage. I own 2 cars, it's not obvious. You need to work at it. It depends how you use it. If you charge home, if you charge public, it's going to make a huge difference for that. So our vision today is to implement the same result we had with DHL in Germany and to distribute it throughout the different fleets. Thank you. Do you have any question?